千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together.
So, about non-contention, can we illustrate that with a story? Well, I want to bring up the teachings from the Tao about the ultimate warrior. So, the ancient teachings was rather specific, still being studied today in American military academies for would-be officers. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, for instance, it is quite specific that the best warriors of all, the best of the best, you may be a good warrior, a great warrior if you win 100 battles out of 100, but the ultimate warrior is the one who prevails without fighting. So how can that be done? Well, there's actually historical examples of that I want to share with everyone. So the example that I have in mind comes from the Warring States period, and this is around the time that Lao Zi lived. So once upon a time in ancient China, during the time of the Warring States, there was a wise and capable minister who served in the Qi kingdom, Qi Guo. And trouble started one day when the Chu Guo, the Chu kingdom, a neighboring kingdom, refused a command from the king of the Qi kingdom. So to understand why, you have to know that back in those days, the Chu kingdom was roughly comparable in status to the Qi kingdom. So naturally, the idea from the Chu kingdom was that, well, if we're comparable in status, why do we need to listen to them? Why do we need to obey their commands? We're just as powerful as they are. So because they disobeyed, refused the command, the side that was disobeyed, the Qi kingdom, felt that this was an outrage. So the generals were like, how dare them? We have an alliance with all these neighboring kingdoms, so they have to listen to what we say. This is an outrage. We should attack them. So several of the generals approached the king to request permission to attack. Now, the wise and capable minister counseled against this. He said, well, Your Majesty, they are well matched against us. So any battle between us will be hard fought. And that means if we go to war against them, it's inevitable that we will use up all the resources that we have worked so hard to save. Not to mention thousands and thousands of people, theirs and ours, will die. So the generals were not happy to hear this. What? We can't go to battle? Why are you holding us back? But the minister is a powerful figure and a trusted advisor to the king. So the king said, well, if you have a better solution, feel free to do it your way. And the minister says, oh, yes, Your Majesty, I do. So sometime after that, the minister sends over 100 businessmen supposedly buyers, purchasers to the kingdom of Chu to buy deers, animals, the deers. So at that time, deers were relatively rare. They were only available in the kingdom of Chu. So there, in the kingdom of Chu, people use deers as venison, as a generally edible animal. So it's not rare in that particular kingdom. So you could buy one. You could buy a deer, for slaughter, for food, by using 2 coins. So the price for a single deer was 2 coins. And they were abundantly available for that kingdom. They were abundantly available in the forest, in the wilderness. So the merchants sent by the minister told everyone, everywhere in the kingdom of Chu, they said that, well, the king who sent us, the king of Qi, he loves venison, and he would not hesitate to pay more for good venison. So the people who have deers to sell, they see profitability. So they all stepped up to provide deers. The price went up from 2 coins to 3. After 10 days, it went up to 5 coins. So later on, that was definitely not the end of it. Later on, the minister offered the price of 40 coins per deer. So this sent a financial economic shockwave through the Chu kingdom. Everybody was like, whoa, there's money to be made here. So the people there, they put down their farming tools. They decided that, well, I'm actually going to make a lot more if I sold more deers. So they fashioned hunting gears for themselves, bow and arrow, traps, and they went into the mountains to try to catch more deers. Not only the farmers did this, but also word got to the military force of the Chu kingdom. So the officers and the soldiers in the military of that kingdom, they put down their weapons, they stopped their training exercises, and they replaced their weapons with the hunting bow and arrows, and they secretly went AWOL into the mountains. So the effect that it had was farming and military training were both neglected, and the people accumulated coins. They all ended up with a lot of coins from selling deers. So then the people of the Chu kingdom wanted to use these coins to buy food, but then they found that, well, nobody had done any farming. They were all neglected, so there's actually nothing to buy. So they tried to go into neighboring kingdoms to buy from them, only to encounter resistance. You see, in the alliance of multiple kingdoms, of the multiple neighboring kingdoms, the king of the Qi kingdom, the offended one, the one who was disobeyed, that king had already issued a decree so that all the subservient kingdoms will refuse to do any transactions, buying and selling food to the people of the Chu kingdom. So starvation started to be an issue in that kingdom. The people soon began to appear thinner from hunger. So when this was the case, and there was a great loss of morale among the military force as well, they've neglected their training. So when the time was right, what the king of the Qi kingdom did was that he rallied all the obedient neighboring states, the neighboring kingdoms. He rallied all of them to gather an army of all the kingdoms, and they headed straight for the true kingdom with this alliance, with the force that was joined with everyone else, much larger than the malnourished and hungry military force of the true kingdom. So the king of Chu at this point was helpless. He had no other choice. So he sent his own ministers out to sue for peace. So as a result of the treaty that came out of this, he agreed to no longer go rogue on his own. He agreed to promise as head of state to accept the command of the Qi kingdom. So the crisis was resolved without bloodshed. This was done with non-contention. The skillful and wise minister did not need to use a knife or any other weapon. His military did not need to kill one single person. Just by using his non-contention principle, he was able to subdue a kingdom that started out being roughly as powerful as his own. So this is what Sun Tzu was talking about. The ultimate warrior was not someone who was skilled in combat, but someone who had the ability to win without fighting. So that is an illustration of non-contention. If you take a look at this slide over here, you can see that it fits all these descriptions. It's about the minimal use of force. And it's about many different strategies that you can use to diffuse an explosive situation. It may be helpful to think of pacifism as being the more passive of the two in comparison to the Tao of non-contention. Think of the Tao of non-contention as being actively working for peace. So it's more dynamic, it's more active, it's more action-oriented. So there you go. That's the idea behind non-contention. An example from the Warring Stage period.
Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.